You guys have been sending in a lot of really good questions, sort of about art, but also life and everything, which I love. And I'm gonna sit here and just answer a whole bunch of them. And I can't get to everyone, but thank you for sending them in. My handwriting has definitely shifted over time. So the handwriting that you see in my first book is actually a little bit different than the handwriting in my most recent book. So it's sort of like an evolved version of my natural handwriting, and now it became my handwriting. My career definitely started with just me making like dumb shit and putting it on Tumblr, putting it online, eventually joining Instagram, and that was all I ever expected. It was just something fun that I was going to do, and it grew from there. When I was a teen, I was really into LiveJournal and MySpace and building fan websites. So for college, I decided to study graphic design and try to like do that, for a living. And that's like kind of still what I do. It's awesome. I'm almost 30 and the world is still scary. And I'm still never 100% sure if I can do art and have that be enough, have that be a job. But I think we just have to make things that we love and do it for us and then hope for the best. I think first and foremost, art has an ability to change our world, like individually. Like the artist has the ability to change their own life and manifest a better life. And so start at home and then work out. There will always be other creatives out in the world, and it's not like one person can succeed and everyone else fails. It's we all can make our thing and all put it out there and reach people who care about it. And that's not scary to me. 5 years ago, I was just working on my first book one page at a time, and I was so like weirdly specific about little things that I thought were hugely significant. I wish someone had told me to just like chill out and let people like what they like. I had all kinds of creative jobs before doing my thing full time. I worked in advertising, I worked at a media website. I had sort of like graphic design normal jobs. And then my personal work grew and it got to the point where it became a full-time job, and that was really cool. I found out that I was gay the way a lot of people do, which is just like being a young person and being like, wait a minute, boys are so cute. And then later I learned that that's a thing and it's allowed and people can do that. I didn't know that there was a 1 to 10 scale of how gay a person could be. I think maybe I'm like an 8. There's not a right way or a wrong way. You don't have to dress a certain way or like the same things. You just be yourself. That's the point. I don't know if I have one coming out advice because everyone's situation is so different. So I would say take your time and tell people when you feel like they need to know or when you feel like you're ready to do that, but there is not a rush. Well, first of all, anal sex is weird. So if you're not sure or not comfortable, you're allowed to wait, and you should find someone who respects that and can create a space where you feel comfortable and safe and want to. I knew that love was out there. I just didn't know what it was gonna look like for me. So like, there's plenty of gay people out there. It wasn't like, oh God, I'll never find one. It was more like, I feel like I'm weird. But then it happened. I think it's good to remember that gay is a label just like straight is. And so you're allowed to be in between. You're allowed to be anything you want. And there's no rush to pick a label. So live your life and figure out what fits to you. I think coming out is a lot like sharing anything else about yourself, right? You don't like enter a room of strangers and just scream a fact about you, but you can talk to your friends and you can let people know in the time that it makes sense to. I met my husband because I saw a photo of him and I was like, who is this very beautiful, interesting person? And eventually I got up the courage to ask him out in a Facebook message. I met Mitchell for our first date when he was getting off work, and he worked at this restaurant. So it was like 1 a.m, and I walked in the restaurant and I see this beautiful guy that I'm going on a date with, and he's like literally sweeping, and I was like, that's it, that's the guy. Mitchell and I have been together for over 5 years, so there are a lot of memories, but this one really special memory is I remember we ordered in like a whole chicken dinner, and we had a picnic on the floor of his living room, and it was so cute. I think I knew I wanted to marry Mitchell pretty early in our relationship. I just felt like I had dated a lot of people and he was not like any of them. And our worldviews really aligned, and I was just like, the world is so scary. Like, can we do this together, please? There's so much good pizza in New York. Okay, Roberta's Pizza and Speedy Romeo's are both like fancy good pizza. Joe's is really good for a slice if you just like go in and get it. And then Williamsburg Pizza is really great for delivery pie. Oh my god, yes, bees. I love that you wrote nature thing. Like, you know that I don't know anything about the outdoors. Although, speaking of, I really love houseplants. I love living with someone who takes care of them because it makes our home feel really calm and it really helps me. I don't really know when I became like an overalls and jumpsuits person. I think I'm just like such a lazy, dumb boy. So I have overalls from Carhartt. I have Urban Outfitters overalls. I just got a jumpsuit from Big Bud Press, and it's actually so comfortable and it fits perfectly. I think for me, living in New York just like gave me the opportunity to date more people. I lived in Baltimore, which has such a different gay scene. So when I got to New York, I was like, oh, there's like cute dudes here from all over the fucking world. And then I found mine. Top 3 things in New York, subject to change, is Strand Bookstore. You have to go to the Rare Books room. Economy Candy in the Lower East Side is exactly what it sounds like. And walk a lot. I don't know if this answer is problematic, but Arnold on Please Like Me, he's like so scattered and so cute, and I was just like, oh my god, that is a good show. I like can't tell if this question's a joke. I'm not actually skinny. I've been chubby my whole life, and I've just like learned that other people do not care as much as maybe I thought that they did. Like, I'm okay. Favorite Michelle Branch song? This is a really hard one. I feel like I don't know. I always loved Find Your Way Back. I think maybe that's one. But then also her latest album from last year is actually so good. You can 100% tattoo my art. I'm totally fine with that. I just ask that you don't like make a ton of changes to it, because then it's not my art anymore. Then it's like some other thing. But yeah, I don't mind. I'm flattered. I'm like really flattered. The bagels in New York are literally better. I don't know why. I'm not sure like how that happened. It's 100% true. Like, please come to New York, get yourself a good ass bagel. Thank you and God bless. The Tyler Oakley Pride collab was really cool. His people reached out and they were like, we want to do a pin collection, and like, you're a queer artist who does that. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out, and he raised a lot of money for charity, and I just feel like I get his whole deal. I forgot that Miley Cyrus Instagrammed my book. God, can you imagine if she hadn't like covered the entire title? Maybe it would have changed my life even more. There's no way she filled in the whole. I would be shocked. To me, Nothing Matters means that in the long run, at the end of your life, all those little things that feel like such a huge deal right now, like, oh my god, I can't believe I fucked that up, like, that won't really matter. And you'll find that at the end of your life, everything happened the way it was going to. I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm 100% Jewish. I'm just not super religious anymore. So I grew up very religious and have sort of spent my life since figuring out what works for me. It was really easy for me to start sharing my work because it was just on my like little Tumblr, and I didn't feel like anyone was looking. And so it wasn't that I was like so confident, it's that I was like, oh, nobody cares anyway, so I'll just put this out. And then people started to like it. I think that if I were on Queer Eye, I would be the culture one, or I'd be like a magical sixth one that just like sits down with you and makes you talk about what really matters and like gets them to cry on camera. Because let's be real, like, it's a reality show. I'm a big believer in having your why, although that's not what I refer to it as, but I have this tattoo, never forget that one thing. I think that we should all have a core drive, and also we should keep it for ourselves and not tell the whole internet. I think after getting married, things got lighter. I started feeling more secure, but also these new issues arise where you're like, oh shit, like, we are gonna take on life, and so harder conversations kind of have to happen between you two. I think when you've experienced something difficult, you begin to realize that every other person in this entire world is dealing with their own shit. And when you empathize with others and keep that in mind, for me at least, it keeps me from being an asshole, because like, life is hard. We definitely should not compare ourselves to other people, and we know that. But I fall in that trap and it makes me feel like I haven't made it or I'm not successful yet. And so I'm always working on like defining what would success mean to me, and then like, did I get there? I think my number one goal in life is actually just to be and stay happy, and that's very hard and it takes work, and I'm not always happy. But you know, doing things that enable me to live comfortably, to help others, to create a space, to form a family. I think a lot of artists can relate to like, you love the most recent thing you've made, and then you make a new thing, and then you love that the most. But I am so proud of Things Are What You Make of Them. I think that book takes everything I've learned about life and art and puts it into one thing. That's me. There are definitely days when I'm just like, today's canceled. And I think rather than beating yourself up over it, it's important to remember that our emotions are not always rational, but also like everything passes. So like it will literally get better. It sounds like you have reached the point where you're aware that you've created not your ideal scenario for yourself. And so you can start over, but you're going to need to be compassionate and empathetic and really put in the work. I compare myself to other people all the time, and it's so stupid because I compare myself to people who do completely different things from me, and it's like I'm not in competition with that person. Like, we are not the same, and I need to let go of it. Mental illness is a real illness, and so as a result, there's a lot of research that's been done. There are people who are living. So, you know, there's therapy, there's medication, there's mindfulness practices. There are small things that you can do to make your life better, and the resources are out there. There's so much stuff that I've made that is just like the wrong fit for a project at any given time. And so sometimes something comes back years later in a new form. Sometimes I say like, fuck you, I'll publish that. You know, there's a lot. I really do not love the business part of being a creative. It's just sort of like necessary. It's necessary for existence. But a lot of people were telling me before I was ready that I should try doing it full time. And so I finally just tried. I feel like I don't have one dream collaboration or project. It just changes a lot as what I do changes. Right now, I think it would be super cool to like one day give a TED talk, like real TED, not a TEDx, like TED. I think it's hard to develop your style because like, I don't know, I'm 29. My shit is gonna keep changing. It's different now than it was 5 years ago, and I hope it'll be different in 5 more years. So instead of like struggling to lock in, just do your thing. I literally did not decide to be a writer. An editor from Penguin saw some of my illustration work and she was like, I think this is a great concept for a book. And so I'm kind of going with the flow on my whole life. I think magic is actually just like a very broad thing that describes like the whole scope of human existence and spirituality. And so I think there is magic. It just kind of depends on how you define it for yourself. I love the show Pose. I like very strongly recommend watching Pose. It is so good. I also really like The Good Place. The end of season 1 was nuts. I really like Younger, I know. And yeah, I don't know. A whole bunch of the questions are actually just like very nice personal compliments. So thank you to everyone who just took this opportunity to say something nice. It makes my whole life. I mean, I could not do this without your support. If you're in school right now, that is a huge privilege and it is also very expensive. So get your money's worth. Take classes that are just interesting to you. Learn everything you can. Use the campus resources and learn out of the classroom. That's where you're really going to learn. I think transparency is the most important. So like a lot of people have handwriting. That doesn't mean they're stealing my work. But sometimes I notice there are people who have been following me for years and their work starts looking more and more like mine. It's an interesting thing. I'm really excited about the OK Tarot deck because I'm brand new to tarot. It's just something that I think is interesting. My favorite card I think is the Fool because I was really surprised when I learned that like we're the Fool. The Fool is card 0 and 22. Tumblr was a huge part of my life in my 20s and it introduced me to new artists and new people who are just so different from me and enabled me to make friends that really impacted my development as an adult. I think the hardest part about being my own business, like a truly personal brand, is figuring out where the line is between who I am and what the work is. So it can be really hard for me to stop working like on a weekend because it's my hobby and I love it. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I have taken like a year and a half to pitch a new book to Penguin because nothing felt right. Nothing felt real yet. And right now I'm in the very beginning stages of something that I'm really excited about, finally, so it's time. I've had jobs that were like truly kind of awful. What always brought me joy was knowing that like I was making money that I could spend on the art that I wanted to make, and it takes the pressure off of needing to make art that sells well. It's important to remember that authenticity is also a performance because we all choose what to share. So instead of like trying to be authentic, just actually be yourself, and that will communicate through to the people that are paying attention. I think this is a really reductive question. The whole world already wants to label queer people. Why would we then like subdivide? But real talk, like it all feels good, so have fun. I totally understand your perspective here, but here's what I'm reading. I'm reading that you've been a designer your whole life, and like, how amazing is it that you have done your thing? Like, I don't think you missed any boat. You are in the boat. I don't stay motivated. Trying to stay motivated is like trying to always be happy. It's just not possible. So allow yourself to not be motivated sometimes, and then when you are motivated, really cherish that time that you have. I think I'm most proud about now being in a position where I can help other causes or donate money out of pocket. Like I'm not rich, but I now earn a living and I'm able to be like, you know what, I believe in this, I'm gonna help. We need to remember that perfect isn't better, and like every famous art, like what is a Picasso or a Basquiat? Like these are not perfect and might even be bad, and we love and cherish them. Watch my 99U talk about this because it'll help. I'm always so flattered when someone wants to come and like give me a compliment, and I don't mind it. I just think if it's in real life somewhere, and we just have to be tactful when we talk to anyone that we admire and like make them feel comfortable too. I get plenty of negative feedback. I get people who don't understand my whole deal, and I get rejected from like professional organizations or awards or opportunities all the time. And you just have to remember that other people will like you. Okay, I just answered so many questions. Thank you for sending them in. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody, but I'll do this again sometime. It was a lot of fun, and there were some really great questions I wasn't expecting, so thanks so much. Thanks for following me on here, and